Hey, I'm Freddie Gateley from vocalbooth.com, here with my buddy George, the Tech Whittam. And we've been doing some interviews here from the floor from the NAB Show 2024, right down from the main stage in the Central Hall. And we've been having some Zoom calls. We've been having some clients come through and getting to use our booth at a studio.
For what it's for.
For what it's for. Recording at a trade show. I've got my friend here, Jeff Huskins, who is, he's got a YouTube channel called Enter the Atmosphere. He works at BMG Studios, and he has mixed a ridiculous amount of records, recordings, songs. He is an expert. So we have partnered with him and gotten him one of our VO1s for his studio. So it's very cool to see how his channel is going to progress, how bringing artists in there and using that VO1 in a studio. So yeah, welcome, Jeff, to the NAB Show.
Hey, thanks. Glad to be there. Wish I was in Vegas, but the next best thing right here.
That's right. You were almost supposed to come, right? Because we were looking like you might be here, might not be here.
Then the crazy schedules start. You know how that is.
Oh yeah, business calls, right?
Yeah. This time of year is when things really start to cook up for you.
It's interesting. It's like it seems like the Latin world right now is in full get it mode, and then the pop world is trailing behind. It's just albums run, in weird little cycles. It used to be in the older, days gone by. It was like every year about the same time. You'd get an album to do that. You did the album last year about the same time. And now it seems it runs a little quicker or it runs just a little bit later, but it's not as yearly of an event, as it used to be, which is singles are lasting longer and so forth and so on. And then singles are going quicker too. So this waterfall technique that they're using now is crazy.
Wow.
That's awesome.
There's so much inner workings of the music business that are so unique,
Yeah, it's crazy and it's changing daily. It's nuts. Fun though.
Changing daily. Good. No, it looks like. And now, how many albums have you mixed? I saw there's some ungodly amount.
In Atmos and Dolby Atmos, I've mixed a little over 4,000 songs, and album wise, I know I'm over the 10,000 mark. I don't know exactly where a buddy of mine that's been my session leader on things. Yeah, I know. And I'm only 197 years old. But my buddy that's been my session leader, his name's Scott Sanders. He's been on every session I've done in Nashville since 1987. And we hit the 10,000 mark last year, sometime middle of the summer. So I don't know where it is now.
Congratulations.
Oh, thanks. Congratulations. It doesn't seem like that much, but it I got the hard drives to prove it.
Yeah. No joke. Jeff, looking back at at a couple of things too, when I was just looking up your name to give you a call again. Now, were you in Little Texas?
Yeah, I was.
And I brought it up.
I was a lot skinnier and I had a whole hell of a lot more hair.
So yeah, like middle school me is like nerding out because I totally had that CD and I love Little Texas, man. That was awesome. I saw that. I was like, no way, is that Jeff? That's Jeff. So you did the performing thing. I see you play like fiddle, keys, sang.
Yeah, I started off and I got my first record deal when I was like 19 years old. I got signed to Mary Tyler Moore had a record label called MTM of all names.
Oh yeah.
And so signed to the Flying Nun, if you remember those for us older folks. But and then that turned into a band, which turned into playing fiddle for a guy named Gene Watson, and then a guy named Keith Whitley, and then a guy named Clint Black. And I was with them up until about 90, 91.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tim Rushlow, who's our lead singer in Little Texas, called me in the middle of the night and said, hey, one of the members had left and they had no cancellation insurance. And he knew that I knew the set, I knew the songs.
Oh,
so
cool.
He said, please come out. And I said, okay, but I'm only coming for 2 weeks. And 12 years later, so that was a fun run, though. We officially, the group, as it was known back then, disbanded in 2000 and kind of went our separate ways. And so ever since then, I've been just mixing and producing and doing my thing. So
were you mixing and producing for the band as well?
We, as a band, we wrote everything we ever recorded. So God Bless Texas, My Band and all. We wrote all those songs. And then we produced we had our manager, who was Christy DiNapoli. And so we all co-produced and wrote everything. So it was a blast tons of fun. Very creative.
We guys a Nashville-based songwriting organization?
We're
or out of
based
Texas?
in Nashville, but our record label and our management made us go to Memphis to record.
Okay.
There's too many distractions. We were all, let's put it this way, we're all in our 20s and we're all single. So enough said. Yeah.
So it's your fault. It's your fault. It's now Nash Vegas.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we contributed. It's too much fun.
Awesome.
But yeah, it was a good run. But I like this side of the fence because I get to sleep in a bed that's not moving, and it's great. Yeah. So
Very cool. So you made the jump over to producing, cut your teeth on the performing side, and then got, of course, you got to see a lot while you're recording. You got to really get like the nitty gritty of the recording process, and probably there for a bunch of mixing and mastering sessions. And then you jumped in and found you totally had an ear and a knack for it. I mean, it always seems to be that way too. We always talk about it, man. Our most favorite sound guys, even like when you're performing, are always like musicians. They just they play the whole mixers like I mean, they're on it. Like you can definitely tell the difference between.
You can always tell the musicians because they're not just sitting at the board like this.
Yeah,
they're like hands.
They're playing that thing. They're on it.
It's well, I got into the just traditional stereo mixing and stuff, and that was really my first love into this whole world, and then producing, of course. But around 2015, 2016, it was when the first Dolby Atmos movie came out. I got to be involved in that. It was called Frozen. It was a Disney thing. And I know it extremely well. If you
heard of it?
You know it.
I've got two daughters, and
yeah,
you know it. Oh, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
So you got it on the ground floor.
Yeah, so I got the bug early, and then I flew up to. I was working on a Mark Chestnut record, who's a country singer.
Yeah,
and we were mastering with Bob Ludwig up at Gateway Mastering, and I came up there. I went up there to hang out with Bob because I want to watch God work basically.
Yeah.
Got to sit in, and he goes, "Hey, I want to show you something," and he takes me down the hall, and he takes me into a room that's a 5-1 setup with a TV in the front, and he just finished mixing the Roy Orbison black and white with Springsteen and all that, the Katie Lang and all that, and James Burton and all those people in that video. And I sit there and just cried like a little baby. And I knew, well, there goes my kids' college fund. So I got to do this. I got to do surround. So I got into the Atmos thing real early, which is lucky. Usually I'm the guy, I pick beta over VHS. That's just my luck. I'm
yeah,
that guy. But this time I got it right. So I was on the ground floor and had a studio here in Nashville before anybody else, and blessed our CEO of BMG. His name's John Loba, and he's just a great friend. Been friends a long time. He called me and said, "Hey, there's this thing called Dolby Atmos, and we need help." And I said, "Atlas, yeah, you need some help."
Yeah, if you don't know the name of it, you need some help. Yeah.
So
what's that Sennheiser microphone you got there?
Yeah, that's Sennheiser. Yeah. Yeah, right next to that Newman.
Yeah, the Neumann and the Sennheisers.
Yeah, but yeah. So we he brought me in here, and we looked around the building, and he said, "Is there any place in here that you could put a studio?" And so this room is not ideal, but it was big enough, and it darted out with the Dolby specs and stuff. So we put it in here, and 4,000 songs later, here we are. So
awesome.
Yeah. So
now, Jeff, for some of the people that are going to watch this, and for even myself, I don't understand it as well as George does, but can you give us a real quick flyby of Dolby Atmos? I mean, we've heard of 5.1 surround sound and stuff, but what's that jump to Atmos, and what does that really mean?
Well, Atmos is at its core. We've been stereo back since the 40s. When we switched from mono to stereo back in, I think, 42. And they've tried other things over the years. They tried quad, they tried 5.1, 6.1, 7.1, 8.1, 9.1, 10, all these different things. And they never would stick because you had to have a ton of gear that was not apartment friendly, wife friendly, whatever. It just didn't work. And the only people that could experience and enjoy it are usually people that had home theaters or something like that. So
yeah, you need a dedicated listening room.
Yeah.
And a considerable budget.
A considerable budget. Yeah. So Intra Dolby Atmos, which at its core in a mixing environment is a 714. So it's even more stuff. 3 in the front, two on the sides, two on the rear, four above me, and then I have two subs, one's rolling off, and then one's for the LFE. And so that's even more, so how does
I
this
know.
work and why has this become popular?
Right.
The reason why is because if you have all this stuff, it sounds amazing. It's incredible. But if you don't have all this stuff, it knows when to fold down all the way down to the holy grail, our cell phones. So when
Really?
it's folding down into the cell phone world, and basically in your DSPs like Apple and Tidal and so forth and so on, it's playing binaural audio, which is a version of the Dolby Atmos mix that we do. So we have to take into consideration when we're mixing an Atmos to make sure we're checking that binaural mix like all day long, just to make sure everything's going to sound good at the end user when it gets there. But the reason it took off is, one, it's on our phones. That's number one. And Apple started off in the very beginning. Apple was paying us as engineers to do music back catalog stuff. So it was a ton of, just crazy stuff. Everything from Sinatra to Motley Crue to Eric Church and everything in between.
I didn't know that. Oh,
And
wow. Okay.
yeah. So that kind of got the ball going. And then they kind of teased us enough, and then they got the labels going, well, hey, this is cool, because Atmos mixes pay a better royalty than a normal mix.
Okay.
And anytime it pays, even though it's not a lot, it's every penny
Adds
counts
up.
when you're in
It
a $1
counts,
billion industry. So that's been the one determining factor. And two, it's everywhere now. So it's on your phones. We have the Sonos pieces for home. It's in the cars now. It's in like Kias even have it as an option in 2024. The Mercedes, the Ford F-150, to the Teslas, to the Bentleys, to the whatever, everything in between. So that's become, the really the only frontier that's left to be able to handle the Dolby Atmos mix is terrestrial radio. And I don't know, I'm not going to say nothing right now, but somewhere in that building, there is a company, I don't know their name, but I heard about it, where they have developed this thing that they can actually broadcast an ADM BWF master with all the metadata. So it comes to your receiver in your car or your home or wherever. And now we're in business. So it's exciting times. It really is. It's been
This doesn't sound like a quad fad.
no,
This doesn't. This isn't going anywhere, and this is exciting because I love how you say, like, we've seen all these formats come and go,
Yeah.
come and go, come and go, like, and they all are just too difficult to monitor for the average listener. I just had no idea how it just folds down to mobile.
Yeah,
that way.
it's insane how it works. And what really is exciting is, like, when I first started doing it, the very first project I did was for BMG was Jason Aldean's Georgia and Macon album. And at that point, he was the elite, artist at that moment in time. And they were doing every song on the album. And then some of the artists that were up and coming, they do a single here and a single there, but they wouldn't do the whole album. Well, now it's like, it's the whole album, every single artist, every single, because it just makes more economical sense. And I tell you, the future is, and now there's a lot of engineers that want to stab me in the eye with a spoon when I say this, but it's mixing it in Atmos. And this is the way I do it. And I've been doing it for about a year now. When I'm mixing a project that I'm producing, I'll mix it in Atmos first, and then take that, and then out of that, I'll derive my stereo mix. Just like the film world, it's Atmos first, then it's LCR, stereo, 5.1, all the different mixes that you do in the film world. We've been that way since 2015. The music business is usually about 10 years behind the video world, so we're catching up. But that's the future. It's amazing what it sounds like when you do that. It's like when you got a project and you're mixing something and you've got all this real estate to deal with. For example, if you got a piano and an organ and a stereo mix, they're both frequency ranges, they're about the same. So somebody's going to get the high pass. You got to roll one off to make room in the mix and squeeze it in there, and try to delays and things to make it where it fits. And Atmos, you stick the piano up front, stick the organ in the back, or vice versa. You just move it out of the way, and you've got all this new real estate thing. Now, here's the part that's crazy about that. So when you mix an Atmos song like that, and then you fold down into the two, you'll be the first thing your brain, okay, I'm gonna have a lot of fixing to do, but it's not. It's weird. It's like when you fold it all down, you might still have to roll some off of the organ or roll some off the piano, but it's not as drastic as it was when you were doing it to poke it into a two mix. And an Atmos mix, you just have all this room, and when you fold it down, you still hear everything, which is
Wow.
I can't really describe why or how. It's just amazing, and that's definitely the future of whether everybody likes it or not. Engineers better learn Atmos because it's here.
Learn Atmos.
It's going nowhere. So,
And then it also works with the Apple app. What's Apple? What does Apple call their immersive?
Yeah, it's all Dolby Atmos pretty much now.
It's all Dolby Atmos, and it just folds
they all
down
name
into
it differently. Yeah, it's
Gotcha.
Apple. You know how Apple is. Yeah,
of course, it's got to have its own name.
Spatial audio. So
spatial. That's the word I'm looking for. Spatial. Right.
And then there's guys that call immersive audio, and then there's 14 different other names. But really, it's all Coke.
Right.
Okay. Dr. Pepper.
I'm even hearing it trickle down to audio drama.
Really?
There's some stuff. There's one called I'm gonna I'm not gonna know the name because I want to say it, but because I can't remember it. But what's one of the ones? Dang it! I can't remember. But
I've heard podcasts.
It's a science fiction podcast done in Atmos, wow. And it sounds like it's theater of the mind is accelerated dramatically when you add the Atmos mixing, because now you're sitting in a spaceship, and the humming and the whirring of the machinery and everything is around you, and voices come out at you. When you watch a film, you're part of your senses are distracted by the film.
Sure.
But and it's an audio only format, it's just so much more vivid.
I just mixed a few weeks ago. I mixed a comedy show for a comedian by the name of Byron Kennedy, and we mixed the whole thing in Atmos for Netflix.
Oh wow! Yeah,
it's cool. It's like you feel like you want to punch the heckler next to you. Yeah,
it must be a lot more fun to record as a production mixer too, because we're going to put more mics out. I would imagine you're going to put more mics out in the audience.
Yeah. I'm really curious about that. So how do you set up to get the most out of Atmos?
There's a lot of different trains of thought, and when you're in the recording studio versus live, we'll start there. Recording studio, you pretty much you do everything the normal way. You mic things up, you're micing up guitars the same way you would normally do it. When it comes to drums, I like the Sennheiser little VR mic that they use. That's pretty cool. There's a couple other different arrays that are like 714 arrays of mics all around, and you hang that above the drums, kind of like you would a deck a tree when you're doing an orchestra kind of thing.
Wow. Okay.
And that's cool. I found that it depends on the genre of the music. If it's a classical piece, absolutely. Yeah, you want to put them everywhere, just got to be leery of phase and things like that you have to watch after. But when it comes to bluegrass, that's another great one. Jazz is another great one. But more on the pop side, hip hop, country rock, that side, close miking is still a better, you're going to definitely want to do it like you normally do it. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the live thing, I found that you close mic everything up front. Like I just mixed the Dave Matthews Band live from Madison Square Garden.
And all right, I'll be watching that now.
It's pretty cool. And so the mission there was to put it at about 15 rows back and make it and where the crowd just engulfs you. And someone listened to it the other day and said the only thing missing is the weed smell.
Oh wow!
So it literally feels like you're there. It's fun. It's so much fun to do too.
Well, we talked about listening on headphones and mobile phones, and then of course going for broke, the full system. What is a good and I don't know? Tell me if you're not knowledgeable about this, but what is a good entry point Is there a sound bar with surrounds, or what's a good entry point system for the average person?
I tell you, I always encourage people that if you're going to enter into the headphone world, there's a pair of headphones made by a company called Odyssey. They make really high end headphones, but they also make this one little pair called the Maxwells. Actually, they look like this.
Yeah.
And they got a little mic. They're like $300. And what's amazing about them is they're set up with multiple drivers so that you can, hear. And sorry, my friends at Apple, but they smoke the apples. I mean, and they're half the price. So those are amazing for the headphone world. If you want to get in, that's probably the cheapest way I know to get in. Then the next step
is there something inherently special about the headphone itself? Is it still just a pair of analog?
Just the separation of the drivers,
multiple drivers inside.
Okay. Got it.
So it's got a lot more separation,
and it's plugging in with USB.
You can do it. They're wireless.
So wireless
USB dongle that you can plug in. And what really makes those special is we have this thing called the Dolby Atmos.
Spend some more money.
Spend some more money.
I'm writing this down
on Amazon. Right?
Yeah, the Dolby Atmos renderer is got a binaural configuration where you can plug in this little dongle and it goes straight to your head, so we can actually monitor a mix instead of having to listen to it binaurally. I can listen to it right off the renderer coming right into my headphones, and so it gives me another way to monitor what's going on. But you can take just a regular pair of headphones and plug them into your iPhone, go to spatial audio, and you're going to hear it. You're going to hear.
That blew me away. I think it was the other night. I was watching, just sitting in my hotel room here at NAB, and I turned on one of these new movies, and it popped up a little Atmos thing, and I thought, this isn't going to matter. I'm not watching on a 5.1 surround sound. That's beautiful. I know it's surround sound. And all of a sudden, I was looking around the room. I'm like, holy smokes, what? I don't have any different phone. I'm just using my standard old earbud. But oh my gosh, it was like it's cool. The separation between all those things. So if I'm understanding it right too, this is the Atmos is you do everything the way that you would normally do, and then so as you're mixing, then you can mix in the spatial, and the software takes care of putting that stuff spatially where it is.
And what makes Atmos really unique in that world is when you're mixing traditional 5.1 or whatever surround, it's speaker back. So if you put something in the left speaker, it goes there, and center speaker and right speaker and all so forth and so on. And that's what we call a bed in Atmos talk. Then we have this thing called objects, and objects are not speaker bound. So if I wanted to take a singer and put him right here or anywhere I want in this entire room, I can. It's kind of like having GPS for your room. So, and that opens up every can of worm known to man. It's so much fun. You can make stuff fly down, circle your head, the sax player.
I saw a great demo at NAM in the Neumann listening room. They had a proper Neumann, playback system.
Those Neumann speakers are awesome. Those things are good. Oh my gosh.
And then they had the display showing the actual mix, the engine that is locating the sounds in that space.
Oh, so you get to see the bouncing green balls.
Exactly. So not only were you listening to it and experiencing it, you were visually seeing where the instruments were traveling.
Yeah.
Each ball had a name on it, like what it was, cello, whatever.
Yep.
And it really hit home at what that format can do. It's really amazing.
It's truly, I think we're just scratching the surface as to what it can really be as we move on, and as engineers get more comfortable and get better and better at the craft. It's definitely a positive move forward for the music business. It's amazing.
What's the entry point? So you're an engineer, you're getting out of school, maybe you've been doing a little work, but you're ready to step up. What's the entry point for proper Atmos mix monitoring system?
Well, I tell people at first, I try to lean them into definitely do Pro Tools as far as your DAW, as far as your DAW is concerned. It's the industry standard. You can do it on Logic Pro and the different ones, and they have it built in, and so does Pro Tools now. but you can literally start on a laptop with a pair of good headphones, and start experimenting and learning. And I've mixed just out of necessity, had to fly somewhere, and I won't say who the artist was, but it was a big
You won't
artist.
tell. The secret is safe in there. Yeah.
It was this person. But I mixed 2 songs from my mother's kitchen table in Burleson, Texas. And as I got done mixing it on headphones, I'm thinking, okay, I think that sounds good. And I send it up here to my assistants, and they play it in the room and go, okay, do this, do that. I think it's good.
How about it? That's awesome.
I know there's guys like Chuck Hanley and a few other guys I know that they've gotten to where they mix 90% of it on headphones, and then they bring it in and check it in the room.
Okay,
for me, I go the opposite way. I'm about a 90 in speakers and 10% headphones. I want to get it where I can make it sound the best I can in the room first, and then put the headphones on and start making adjustments for that. Because that in the end, that's the holy grail. But back to entry level thing, the headphones would be the cheapest way to get into it. Then the next step from that, for the home user, if you were, they got TVs that have it built into the actual screen now. So, which is incredible.
Wow.
So, and even some of the computer monitors, like this new Apple monitor that I've got, it's got it actually built into the screen. And my new laptop's got it built into the screen. It's crazy.
So it's firing sound like upward.
Oh yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
That's bizarre, So
yeah,
I think the probably the best entry level that sounds really truly amazing is Sonos. If you've heard of the Sonos soundbar, they call it, I think they call it the Arc. I believe it's called the Arc.
Yeah, it sounds.
And they're in that $600-700 price range, and then you can add a sub. Of course, that's going to make it a little better, and then you can add rear speakers. For the rear surrounds, and then it fires all the top stuff, through that soundbar, which is that's crazy.
That's really incredible. Have you done anything remotely, like our friends at Source Elements? They got nominated actually for an award at NAB because of their ability to do remote Atmos mixes. Is that thing that comes up for you? Has it ever come up to need to do that kind of thing?
It's come up a couple of times. I did a show. It was James Burton, who's the guitar player for Elvis, and had everybody from Brian May of Queen to Sammy Hagar to Mickey Dolenz from the Monkees, all these crazy eclectic group of people. Yeah, it was really cool. And we did the first show we did here in Nashville at the Skimmerhorn, and we recorded it in Atmos there. The next one we did at the Palladium in London, and that was in a remote situation. So I've dabbled in it. There's, as far as just when you really look at it, everything I do is remote, because 99% of my clients, besides my BMG clients here, it's coming from all over the world. I just got a song from a band called Nothing More, and they're, out of New York. So it's kind of, everything comes in hard drives or good old WeTransfer or Dropbox, and so it's cool.
That's very cool.
And I know there's.
I know you got to. Sorry,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I know you have a.
Go ahead. No. I know the Olympics were broadcast and mixed in Dolby Atmos live, which I think that was the first time it ever been done in a television show where it was actually mixed live, which that's exciting. So. But sorry, I talked too much. Go ahead.
No. I just was bringing it back because I know you have a VO1.
Yeah, no problem. I want to talk a little bit about your So you've got your show on there, Enter the Atmosphere, and I've watched a few of your things. You're showing how to mix. I think it's super cool. I'm going to send it to my son. I already did, actually, who's super interested in music production and stuff, and he's always out there trying to learn. And I said, yeah, you got to check out Jeff's stuff here. This is the stuff to check out. And so what's really cool is that you also said that you could use a VO1 in your studio. So you've got all this stuff, but then also a place in this professional studio to have a VO1 from Vocal Booth in there. What are you using?
I tell you what, it's so cool because I just got it set up just a few days ago because, of course, I had to tweak it out a little bit. I had to do some things I wanted to do. And
I saw that you had the Philips Hue light in there, right?
Yeah.
We're oh man, we're like, I think we might need to actually start offering that as an option because that looks awesome. So
It's so cool because I can make the room purple in there, or whatever color
yeah.
you're feeling. And for us weird synesthesia guys, it works really good. So set the color to the right thing. So and then I put some triad orbit mounts and for the microphones and stuff inside.
Mm-hmm.
But what's great about it is I'm in this room, and before what I'd been doing has been setting up in here because it never fails. This happens a lot more than I realize. But when you're mixing in Atmos, when you're mixing in stereo, there's things that slide through the cracks and no one ever hears. You know, bottles falling over. You know, if it's a Motley Crue record, just chaos that in that track that you don't hear. Well, the second you break that out into 13 things, all heck can break loose.
Oh my God.
There's been a million times that I've had people go, man, I got to re-sing that. I got to redo that little. I can't let that go out like that. It didn't sound like that on the two mix. I said, well, that's what's on there. And then they go, and then they hear it in the two mix. Like, oh my gosh, I didn't get it before, you know. So it got to be where on things that I was producing, there was a studio across the street called Soundstage, which is one of the best in the world. So I track over there, and then I come over here, and I always, you know, wanted to cut all my vocals here all the time. But this room, you know, if I was going to cut in here, I got to turn my speakers off, put on headphones, and, you know, it's got to be quiet in here. So, yeah, I thought, well, how cool would it be? There's a little room next door to me, and it's not real big, but it doesn't matter. I just set the vocal booth up in there, and man, I'm in business. I drilled a couple of holes through the wall. Don't tell no one.
Oh yeah.
But I ran the cables through the wall, and I'm good, man. So it's
outstanding.
I'm cooking with gas, man.
Very cool.
Yeah. So we got people cooking in. I think that if you know who Jelly Roll is, he's really.
Oh yeah, totally.
He's been in there, and I've had his running buddy Struggle Jennings in there, and so you name it, this bunch. But this episode that just came out last night of ETA, I got pictures of it, video of it, and the whole 9 yards. So you have to go check it out. It's cool, but it's what a cool
glad
piece,
you mentioned
man.
that. Tell us again where everybody can see what you do.
Yeah.
Go to YouTube and type in Enter the Atmosphere, clever name, and then you go to, there's 2 episodes on a guy named Lane Hardy, who was a season 17 winner of American Idol, and a really great kid. I'm working with him, I'm producing him and working with him. And so I thought, well, let's go for it and do a start to finish of how we do something from zero to Atmos. So we've been filming that. So part 2 got into the vocals and cutting, and unfortunately we didn't have the booth in time to cut the vocals on him.
Sure.
But I featured it. It kind of made it with the magic of TV. It kind of looks like me.
Yeah,
but it's really cool. But what makes that thing so awesome is the first time you put it together, give yourself 15 minutes. Okay. The second time you put it together, give yourself 2 minutes. I mean, it's really because you know where everything goes. You know, I got that. And it just, you know, it goes together super easy. And it works.
It works. Excellent.
I love it.
Good.
And I love the fact that the back is open and I can hang the curtain down or not. Because sometimes it sounds, you know, you want a little bit of ambience. Sometimes you don't. So depending on how I move it around in the room, that's another thing. You can grab the whole dang vocal booth and go, what? And it's light, you know. So it's
absolutely.
Yeah, I've been geeking out pretty hard on it.
Awesome. Well, it's in a very good
awesome
place, and we're super excited to see what you got coming up with it, and seeing all your other things. We'll be following along with your YouTube channel, Into the Atmosphere, and seeing how I'm going to go try my hand now at some Atmos stuff. I've got Logic Pro, and I'm super excited to dive in, knowing that it folds in, and that, you know, so from what I understand, you can all the way down to your standard, you know, Apple AirPod Pros.
This was such a helpful crash. We can call it crash course, but a really good 10,000 foot view of this whole thing. A lot of people are going to benefit from understanding this.
Absolutely.
I for one. And I haven't done music in a long time, but I feel way less intimidated.
Yeah. It feels approachable and
well, I'll tell you, if you have something, this is a pretty cool idea to do. And I've done this with some friends of mine. If you have Logic Pro and you're working in Logic Pro, and you've got something that you've mixed in the past in stereo, just go back in there and change the output and start moving stuff around. And then what you can do is that when you're done with it, you got, okay, this is cool. I got it in my headphones doing all this wacky stuff. Then you print that ADM BWF and you can send that to a proper Atmos room or an engineer, and they can literally bring it up and you can hear it in the room exactly like you heard it on phones, and make changes or whatever you want from there. So it really, it's the cost of entry has definitely come down. I mean, granted, eventually you're going to want to, but there's so many great the Gateley little speakers that are out now that are really inexpensive, and you can get in, it's not $1 million anymore like it used to be. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely got a lot more affordable, and so it's fun. So
excellent. Man. Awesome. Well, thanks again. Again, Jeff Huskins at the Enter the Atmosphere. You can check him out on YouTube. Again, with George the Tech Whittam, which you can find him at george.the.tech.
Oh, rolls off the tongue.
Right, that's a good one. Remember.
You have to look for my logo, which looks like this.
There you are.
Hey.
The Scooter Man.
I love that scooter, man.
Awesome. I think that's the first time you called me. You were out rolling around on your scooter. I was like, all right, it's rolling. So
that's crazy.
Awesome. And again, you can find out more about that VO1 on vocalbooth.com/VO1. And you can order right there online. We ship it out within usually the same business day. So again, thanks guys for being with us. This was super fun to talk about Atmos and all these cool tools that are coming available.
And great people.
Good people.
Really nice chatting with you, Jeff.
Really good working with you, Jeff.
Hey, you guys too, man. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Good day.
Take care, my friend.
You too.